It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
People get the idea. I think people get the idea. Oh, goodness.
And welcome in to episode 133 of the Border War. Ladies and gentlemen, in case you weren't familiar with that little ditty, that is the Carolina fight song. The North Carolina Tar Heels knock off the South Carolina Gamecocks in exciting fashion on Saturday afternoon. I am the TanMan. I am joined in studio
For now,
by a very, very disgruntled Gamecock, BG.
It's not even
welcome
like
back, my friend. You're my friend. I'm glad to see you today.
It's not even like we're doing a second NFL show today. It's not like I've got anything to look forward to there either.
No, that's not going to get much better. But
It's going to actually be worse.
We'll get into that in episode 134. Episode 133, however, is dedicated. If you read the description, if you're listening to this as a downloaded podcast as opposed to live, the first ever battle between the Gamecocks and the Tar Heels on the gridiron since we began doing the show. Basically, the game that we built the show around. This back and forth is what the show came from.
I think we can both agree a game that should be played way more often in other sports.
Yes.
Well, it goes back to, without jumping off topic here, it goes back to my whole contention back in the summer when I did my little quick take, which we need to get back to doing, but I'm just tired,
yes,
man.
We do.
Just tired all the time. But South Carolina should have never left the ACC. Matchups like this make so much more sense than that hotly contested rivalry with Missouri that we've developed.
Or that every year standard Arkansas or I think it's Texas A&M now.
It's Texas A&M now, which is even worse than Arkansas. So
you're begging for an Arkansas game.
Well, no, it's
year.
basically like Arkansas had become kind of a rivalry because you'd played them so much.
Yeah,
and then you take that away.
Didn't they come in together or something?
Yeah,
like
they came in the same year. Look, South Carolina doesn't matter to the SEC, which is the worst part about it all. But continue. Go ahead. Have your fun.
Oh, yeah. And fun we will have. You can follow us. Yes, we. We're a team. We're in this together. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. I am at Tar Heel TanMan. And he is at BG_Border War.
One of us loyal to the show. The other one only looking out for his own self-interests.
And I have never made any bones about that.
That's true.
So, BG, before we get into really the meat and potatoes of this thing, just some quick thoughts. What were your quick impressions of the game on Saturday?
I'm not overly surprised that North Carolina played as well as they did. We talked about last year that there were a lot of close games. I think that team seemed fairly disaffected. I'm surprised that we looked as bad as we looked, particularly on offense. But then I sit and I wonder why I'm surprised by that. Because I think that's just what this South Carolina team, under this coach, in this era. Now, I mean, we'll talk about Muschamp. I still think there's a very distinct possibility that he's there longer than anyone thinks he's going to be. And I would like to point out, we've talked about it many times, that Spurrier had a lot of really mediocre early years until he landed some really difference-making recruits. But I mean, at least in this upcoming class so far, we don't have any of them.
Well, you had one decommit from you immediately afterwards too.
And I probably not a coincidence. But I mean, at the same time,
maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But it just kind of looks funny.
It's bad optics, and that really is. That's what I would say, man. It's bad optics all the way around. Like, there's just something about South Carolina, when coached by Will Muschamp, that anytime things are tight, anytime they should be the better team, even if they come out with the win, they manage to look bad doing it.
Yeah.
And they manage to look kind of feisty against teams they have no chance against and sort of stay in the game, but they lose those two. I don't know, but I think, too, people need to remember that you take those 5 years where they played 3 years really, where they played pretty decently under Spurrier and won 11 games. I mean, they still didn't win anything. And a couple of years under Joe Morrison, man, and this is better overall the past 3 seasons than South Carolina has been on average for 125 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think as a Gamecock fan, you just need to remember actually who you've been up to this point, and quit acting like it's just going to change because you really want it to.
Well, now I've got a thought on that too. I'll get to it in just a minute. A couple of the stats from the game. We'll start with South Carolina. Jake Bentley, 16 for 30 for $142. 1 touchdown and 2 really costly interceptions.
And that touchdown came on a busted coverage.
Yeah. And not a great game by Jake Bentley, but I've got some more thoughts on that. From the rushing side, we both thought, look, South Carolina, they landed Feaster. We weren't sure if he was going to be a difference maker, but just basically don't be terrible. And I'll be honest, with Feaster's performance, I was just kind of, he finished
outside of one run, which tweaks the stats in his
exactly.
favor, right?
He finished up with 13 for 72, but he had that long 34-yard touchdown run in the first quarter, I believe it was. After that, he averaged 3 yards a carry the rest of the game.
Right, and he didn't get a lot of carries.
He didn't get a ton of carries. Rico Dowdle, he had 11 for 62, a solid day by Dowdle. It seems like they're going to try and split those carries up pretty evenly. The guy that jumps out for me for South Carolina, Brian Edwards. He has one catch.
And it was the first play from scrimmage.
He has 1 catch for 7 yards.
Isn't that right? Wasn't it? I think it was our first play from scrimmage.
If it wasn't first, it was pretty early. 1 catch for 7 yards. Look, I just think that I think it was one time early on in the game. Edwards comes across the middle, and I think it was Miles Dorn, basically lays the wood, puts his shoulder pad right into the gut of Edwards.
He didn't seem to get back in that game,
and he was done after that. I think he fair catched catched on a punt in the third quarter with like 20 yards around him. He just never really seemed himself after that.
Go back and watch the interception at the end of the game. Not the last play of the game, but the last possession. The play after Jake overthrows Shi Smith in the end zone could have won the game. The next play. Watch Brian Edwards. It's clear that he runs a drag route across the middle. It's clear he's supposed to take the linebacker that intercepted that play out of the play. He runs the route way too shallow and at about half speed.
He didn't want any more.
That's the kind of stuff that costs you games, and that's why you need to be careful before you blame Bentley for some of this stuff because let me just say it like it's straight. Do I think Jake Bentley played a great game? No.
We'll get into Bentley.
Do I think that he could have made that touchdown throw? Sure. But a lot of the people that are putting 100% of the blame on him, and let's just put it real plainly, don't know one damn thing about football.
No.
They're not watching the rest of the play. They're only watching Bentley, and they think they know what they know, but they don't.
From the North Carolina side, true freshman Sam Howell, 15 for 24, 245 and 2 touchdowns. So let's talk about the Tar Heels for a minute here. You've got the two-headed running back. We called it before the last week before the game, Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. One with 18 for a 102, the other 16 for 77. On those 2 drives, the 2 90-plus yard touchdown drives, those 2 guys were huge.
Well, they were huge the whole game. Their ability to run the ball is why Sam Howell had a good day. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah, I thought, watching in the first half, we said last week, I said, the way I kind of see it playing out, if North Carolina was going to be successful, I said, you kind of have to lean on these 2 guys early. Let Howell kind of develop around him. Don't get so far behind. Don't force him into uncomfortable situations. It's exactly what they did. Maybe to their detriment early on because they get down in the red zone 3 times.
Yeah.
Down around the South Carolina 5, I think.
They could have gotten 1 touchdown.
Could take a shot.
Yeah.
And they got real. Fourth quarter comes. They get backed up. When you have 98 yards and your freshman quarterback standing in the end zone, that's when you decide to turn him loose, and oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, did they. Daz Newsome, De'Ami Brown, 4 catches apiece. A couple great touchdown catches. Bo Corrales, his 1 catch was the big one, the go-ahead touchdown.
The 1 catch I didn't even think was that poorly defended. I don't know what you do with that.
What about the one that went right through Horn's hands on that one? Oh my!
Yeah.
How in the world does that happen?
I don't know. I'll say this though. As impressed as I was with your quarterback and his play, and I think we need to remember too that true freshmen in 2019 doesn't mean what true freshman meant in 2002.
I don't think it means what it meant in 2013.
These kids, a lot of them come. I heard Dallas Sweeney talking about it today, talking about Deshaun starting as a freshman and Trevor starting as a freshman. He was like, "Look, man, these kids came from high school programs where they were playing in front of 6,000 people every Friday night. Yeah. They've been starting since they were in 8th grade. Some of them started varsity in 9th grade. I mean, they're used to this type of atmosphere. Yes, it's faster, blah, 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 but they've had pressure on them for years. And, I mean, this kid's probably no different. Hopefully, Ryan Helinski's no different. We'll get into that. But
I think you're definitely seeing kids in all sports, really. When they come to college and they're freshmen, they are more ready to contribute right away than they were even 5 years ago.
But I'll say this, and it's one of my criticisms of Muschamp. We don't adapt. We didn't seem to have a defensive game plan, to me. Now, maybe I'm in danger of being one of these fans I'm just complaining about who don't know anything about football. Maybe I'm wrong. But to me, it did not seem that we ran a defense that was designed to confuse him. We didn't show blitzes constantly and then back them off, drop guys into coverage, drop defensive tackles into coverage once in a while. Make him second guess everything he saw. And we seem to play straight up, man-to-man, too deep zone defense. And that's something he's probably seen his whole life, because I think with Muschamp, it's not about scheme. I think he thinks you teach your guys the fundamentals and you go out there and you out-execute them. But when you don't do that, you're taking one of the advantages you have over a young quarterback away, and that's you're letting him see what he thinks he sees.
Listen, I think Saturday was more take of the teacher taking the student to school.
I absolutely
agree. This was Mac Brown taking old Will Muschamp, sitting him back in the chair and telling him, just sit back and watch how this is done, son.
Right.
I thought really the whole staff in general, but especially the offensive staff, did a great job of, like I said, not giving Howell too much early, but when they were ready to take the handcuffs off of him and ready to let him take some shots down the field in those two drives and in that fourth quarter, I thought they did a really good job of moving guys around on offense. One, getting the matchup that they wanted,
right, and
two, letting that dictate, not dictate, but letting that determine and show Sam Howell what defense. Now maybe maybe you're right. Maybe the game plan was really vanilla, but North Carolina coaches did a great job of getting their guys in a position to expose the South Carolina defense, so that when the ball was snapped, Sam Howell already knew exactly what was going on. Like I don't think he was confused by. I thought he wasn't confused by very much very often.
And let's be honest. I mean,
a lot of that I think is on North Carolina's staff as opposed to blame on South Carolina's staff. I thought we did a great job.
Well, what I'm saying though is you can call it one and the same, because I mean if what I'm saying about Will Muschamp and his defensive game plan is true, don't you think Mac Brown knew that was going to be the case? Don't you think Mac Brown knew Will Muschamp's going to go out there and just run straight up defense? He's not going to throw tricks into it. He's not going to. Like you see a lot of NFL defenses now, right? There's no defensive formations anymore, man. Everybody's just standing up at the line. Who in the world? Quarterbacks in the NFL, if they're used to just playing, 3-4, 4-3s, you can't even tell what formation defenders are in. And I would like to see more of that. But I just feel like we're just running what we're going to run against everybody all year. And I've said this so many times. After a really disappointing loss, typically against a team who we're favored to beat, typically against a team that we have a double-digit fourth-quarter lead on. This has happened 3 times now. Three times.
Well, we overcame 2 double-digit leads Saturday. Twice. It happened
twice.
Right,
but I'm talking about one in the fourth quarter, man. All right. So in those press conferences, Muschamp immediately reverts to football answers, right? Will, what happened out there? Well, on the first play, we kind of overextended our coverage on the left side. I mean, that's not what they mean.
No, and his answer to everything is, I will evaluate. He said that 15
because I think
times
that's
in
the
4
way
minutes
his mind works, and I think that is why he's pushed up against his ceiling. Because let me tell you what he is. He is a good recruiter, and he is a heck of a defensive coordinator. But I think it's pretty clear now that what he is not is a head coach.
Yeah. Finishing up with the Tar Heels, this is their first opening win in since whatever it was, 1997. So 22 years, first opening win against a Power 5 team. The thing that I really like...
And to be fair, it's not like you do that every year.
We don't do it every year. I think 7 times since then, but we've lost every one of them.
Right.
Some were some really good teams that we had and still lost.
One of them to us.
One was to you guys. 12, 11, and 1 that year.
Hot as fire, man.
Yep.
That was a hot game.
The thing that I really like, my biggest takeaway from Saturday is not, look, coaches are going to watch this film and they're going to find a lot of things that Mac Brown even said after the game.
Sure.
He's got a long list of things that we did wrong, the mistakes that we made. As a fan, there is...
That showed you what you needed to see.
Yeah, as a fan, there is... I left that game Saturday, turned off the TV, and had 0 complaints about that football team.
Sure.
Like I said, coaches are going to...
Because you knew they weren't as talented. They're just not.
Coaches are going to find things. As a fan, I have 0 complaints. And the biggest thing for me, number one, I thought Chaz Surratt was... I thought he was fantastic. A guy who was your quarterback last year, 2 years ago. And you didn't move him to receiver. You didn't move him to... Put it at linebacker.
Yeah.
Like you play quarterback and basically you can't get hit, and you put him in a position where the only thing you have to do is hit. South Carolina did a good job of kind of putting the ball right at him in the first half, and he kind of whiffed on some tackles. But as the game went on, he did a pretty good job. He wound up leading the team in tackles. But the biggest thing, Michael Carter said it after the game. They had gotten this reputation of, if you hit us in the mouth, we're going to lay down. We'll just hit it. We'll let. They're right now watching the sideline after the 2 picks, watching the team as the game went on, even down 20-9, and like I said, backed up 98 yards from the end zone. You can watch these guys; they never ever thought they were out of the game. And there is I don't know what it is. This guy hasn't coached a football game in 5 years, and the last time we saw him on the sideline, he was getting his butt handed to him at Texas. But he has done something. He has tapped into something. He has found the code, and there is a swag and a pride about the guys on this football team that we haven't seen in Chapel Hill in maybe since Mac Brown left in '97. I mean, there is something going on up there right now.
At least there was this week.
Now, going forward, look, hopefully you get this team every week. I don't know if that's realistic.
Game coming up this week, man. That's a big game.
I think you're right.
I don't even think you have to win it, but you know what you can't do.
Well,
you can't get handled.
You can't lay an egg.
You can't go out there and get handled.
Yeah, the expectations, you had them picked dead last in the coastal division.
And I was not alone.
You were not alone. A lot of the major media folks had them picked the same way.
I didn't listen to my own warning. When everybody thinks they know something, they're usually wrong.
Bet the other way.
12
or are
teams,
we allowed to use that?
That's from a movie.
Oh,
From a movie. 12 teams on your schedule. South Carolina's one of them. Where does South Carolina rank in difficulty among those 12, with one being the toughest?
I would say obviously Clemson.
Yeah.
I would put
Miami's a better team than South Carolina.
Well, I was going to say I would probably put them in the same boat as Miami.
So
I would probably put them in the same boat as Miami.
If
a flawed team, a talented team, but you got some flaws. We saw Miami's flaws get exposed the other night. You have 10 sacks.
I'll say this: there was a game. What was it? 4 years ago. We played in Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
We beat you guys.
Mm-hmm.
You had the better team. You had the better team that night. You had the better team that season. Connor Mitch started at quarterback for us. I think 2 weeks later he was gone.
Ouch.
Right. But the point being is that one game that night, South Carolina won the game. South Carolina fans were furious. Oh, we should have beat them 40-0. Well, it turned out that was a pretty good North Carolina team.
It turned out that was not a very good South Carolina team that year either.
Not a very good South Carolina team either. So my question is, do we know what we think we know? But Will Muschamp's the one coming out saying before this game, "This is my best team. This is my deepest team." All all respect to Matt Brown and the Tar Heels, I'm not talking about what happened on the field, like something went wrong in that game, but on the paper, if our players play their best game and your players play their best game, South Carolina wins that game, and that's what South Carolina fans are tired of. And they have every right to be tired of it. You up against a freshman quarterback, I know it's just numbers, but from every recruiting service in the country, you have a deeper team, you have a much more talented team. And yes, Matt Brown outcoached Will Muschamp, but it's not just that.
Listen, here's my problem with that. I've got a problem with that take. Who is South Carolina? What have they won? What has anybody? Listen to me. What has anybody on this team won that South Carolina fans can walk around and go, we're just flat better than them, and when we walk in the stadium, we should drill them into the ground? Who have they ever beaten like that to give that team that kind of attitude, or their fans that kind of attitude? Nobody.
Well, what I'm going by, no, you're right, but what I'm going by is the fact that you guys are a 2-win team with a true freshman quarterback, and we're starting a senior quarterback. And if you could take your fan glasses off and see that, and if these were two teams you didn't give a rip about, you would be saying the same thing as me. It's an inexcusable loss, especially coming off an absolute beatdown by a Virginia team.
That was a bad loss. That was a worse loss than this.
But that's my point. How do you show up as flat as they look? Offensive linemen that outweighed North Carolina's defensive line by 30 pounds a player, and there is no push. None.
No, North Carolina dominated the line on both sides of that game Saturday.
That's all talent. There is an attitude problem in the South Carolina program. There is a lackadaisical attitude problem. And the fans being cocky has nothing to do with the players showing up and not executing the game plan and playing well. And I'm just sitting here wondering, if Jake Bentley makes one freaking throw in the fourth quarter and hits a wide,
he was wide open
in the end zone. I don't know what our take is. I wouldn't be taking anything away from North Carolina. I told you last week.
I'll tell you what the take will be. The take would be, we dodged that one. But I think,
but we're in a lot of trouble.
I wouldn't even. I don't even think. I think most South Carolina fans would go, we dodged that one, but we'll get some things cleaned up and we'll be okay.
I think you're wrong. I think if we had won that game on that throw and we had won by 3 points, that the take would be, we're going to win 3 or 4 games this year. I just don't think you're talking to the same South Carolina fans I talk to, man. There's a level of pessimism that is always waiting. And frankly, if you really want to know where that false confidence comes from maybe the players and definitely the fans, it's because down inside they know that we're just like one bad quarter away from being what we've always been, and that is the most mediocre program in the Southeast. And that's where that stuff comes from. Because if you're loud enough, maybe you can ignore that.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's move over to the Gamecocks. The clock is ticking. You kind of mentioned it a few minutes ago. We'll go talk about it for a few minutes. I said before last season ended, I think this is it for Will Muschamp. I think this is going to be it.
This season?
I said it last year. I said it before the season started this year. This is it on Will Muschamp.
There's no way.
Before this game ever happened.
There's no way.
Before this thing ever happened. And afterwards, I haven't seen a South Carolina fan yet on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, in person. I have not seen one yet that is going to give Will Muschamp anything remotely close to a vote of confidence.
Are they going to give him $19.4 million? Because that's what his buyout's going to be at the end of this season.
Well, look, I'm not giving him a dime. But there are people down there who spend a lot of money, like every college program, and invest a lot of their money in that. And if they want him gone bad enough, then they'll find a way to come up with $19 million, whatever it is.
Look at the coaches who've been fired in South Carolina football history. You know who they are? There's 2 of them.
Let me guess. One's Brad Scott.
Yep.
And Sparky Woods.
Yep. Go back and look at the records that got them fired. 1 win,
Okay.
2 wins. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Ray Tanner, I'm telling you right now, has all but come out and said, I'm never going to fire him. Ever. He's our guy. Welcome to the world, South Carolina fans. This is it. Now, do I think that there's a chance when his contract is up that it can happen? Yeah, I do. I do.
No, there's no. He's
But
not
he
getting another contract.
Will not be fired anytime this season unless something other than football goes wrong.
See, I did. You got.
And this got nothing to do with what I want.
Listen,
I'm just telling you.
coming into the season, we both agreed somewhere around 7-5.
6-6.
7-5.
Kind of our.
Yeah, 7-5, 6-6 is basically the same record, but somewhere in that ballpark.
But what did I tell you when we talked about best case, worst case? What did I tell you about worst case? Did I not sit here and say there is a chance this is a 3-win team? And you said, "Man, no, BG, you're crazy." No, I'm not.
Well, I think that script has flipped now, and a lot of it has to do with Bentley going down.
But what I was telling, you think Ryan Helinski is going to play worse than Jake Bentley?
All right. Here's where I'm coming from with this. I think with Jake Bentley, you kind of knew what you got, and I think had he stayed healthy and played the whole season, again, with the schedule they have, I thought 6-6, 7-5 is about right. If you wanted to, now that you've lost to North Carolina, say Bentley had never gotten hurt, okay? He's healthy, he's your
We
quarterback.
are agreeing he's hurt, right? We're not going to entertain that crap.
No, he's hurt.
Thank you. How he got hurt, I really don't care.
I think it was the last play. He just kind of...
Well, no, a lot of people are throwing this stuff out. He got mad in the locker room and kicked the locker room. But I just watched Muschamps' presser. It's not even being listed as a break. It's a sprain. They're getting a second opinion on it.
Yeah.
The kid's probably going to end up having surgery. I just wonder where all these people that think he's not hurt at all are going to be when they cut his ankle open.
All right. He's not hurt. He's your quarterback all year. Now that you've lost this, I think there's a real chance that after Missouri, you got Charleston Southern, who you're going to beat by 100. Then you got Alabama, you're going to lose by 100. And then you got that trip to Missouri. I think that's the one you had pegged where the season kind of hinges on this.
The schedule. Yeah.
Let's say they lose at Missouri,
Okay.
and now they're 1-3.
Yeah.
All right. Bentley's used up his 4 games.
I think Helinski.
Or no. I'm saying in this
if he
scenario,
hadn't gotten hurt.
he's not hurt.
I got you.
Bentley has used his 4 games, right?
Right.
And you're 1-3. I think you start having a real conversation about whether or not it's time to make a change.
Sure.
For the team and for Bentley.
And just to be clear, we're talking about if Bentley had not gotten hurt.
A hypothetical situation.
Just to make sure everybody knows what we're
right
saying.
now, his NFL stock is 0.
Oh. Yeah.
So if you want to give him an opportunity to kind of reinvent himself somewhere else, save face, I think you make a change then. But now you're faced with this situation where you're freshman quarterback, and yes, I know we just said freshmen are different than they were just a handful of years ago.
They're not necessarily different when they play for South Carolina, though.
But his first 2 real tests,
one is worthless and one is.
I'm saying I'm not even counting this.
I got you.
I'm not even counting Charleston Southern,
Missouri, and Alabama,
and on the road at Missouri.
But I mean, yeah, but welcome to the SEC, man. That's our schedule.
Well,
it's going to be that every year.
Well, I get it, but he's not going to be he's not going to be a true freshman every year. And then, like I said,
but Jake Bentley was better as a true freshman before they got into his head.
He had a good year last year, man. He had a good year last year.
He had a good year on paper. His stats looked good.
He
threw a lot of bad interceptions. I'll
give you that. He's got the interceptions are a problem, but I think he had a bad finish to last year. Yeah, he had the Akron game in a driving rain that shouldn't have even been played.
Right.
And then, of course, the Virginia game. But what were you saying a month before the Virginia game when he's hanging up 5, 10, and 5 touchdowns on Clemson?
Right.
He's pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Jake Bentley's good enough when you give him the pieces around him. But I just don't think this team has the weapons around him.
From a football standpoint, too, one thing I saw a lot was we've talked about this, for a quarterback that is not very mobile, the worst pressure you can get is dead in your face. And he was getting constantly pressured from the center and guard positions right up the middle all night. I just watched Will Muschamp's press conference. This was an interesting stat to me. He went back and talked to Brian McClendon. Brian McClendon called 17 plays in the first half of that game where the primary receiver was a fly route deep. They didn't get a single one of them off. Not one. Now, again, all the people screaming, throw the ball deep, and I tweeted it. I'm one of them. Didn't have time to throw the ball deep.
No,
you have no protection at all. And so
he didn't have time to throw the ball short.
So when you're asking, how does Jake Bentley miss that throw at the end of the game? That's happening.
Well,
because you're feeling it then.
He had basically 4 full quarters of just getting his butt handed to him all day long. Listen, you don't think Muschamp will be gone this year. I do. Can we at least agree that Saturday was effectively the beginning of the end for the Muschamp era, either this year or next year?
Something I just don't see happening, yeah. I mean, I argued about Jake all offseason with Gamecock posters on Twitter saying you're going to get out of Jake exactly what you've gotten for 3 years. Take his stat block, duplicate it. He's going to win you some games. He's going to lose you some games. You're going to finish 6-6, 7-5. That's it. Right? That's it. Okay. Same thing with Muschamp. I mean, he's been a head coach at 2 different schools. He's in his 4th year. He did not have any offense at Florida. He has had no offense at South Carolina.
Which is shocking.
What?
That's shocking.
What could I possibly tell myself to make me think it's going to happen the rest of this year or next year? It's not. It's not. And I'm not sure how exactly it'll go down. Now, I will say this. There are some things that are starting to happen in that program that are very concerning. Coaches blocking former players on Twitter for criticizing the quarterback. And here's where it really gets sticky. Who just happens to be their son. All right? And I mean, I don't want to use myself as an example, but going back to the Pizzagate situation, right? When a guy who, I don't use my name on my Twitter account, right? So Ray Tanner has no idea who I am. No idea. When the first reaction from your athletic director, from your offensive coordinator, from your offensive line coach, from your tight ends coach, is to shut that stuff down. Any criticism at all, no matter. And I didn't see Savell Newton's tweet. I don't know.
I think he deleted it pretty quickly.
I don't know if it was really disrespectful or what. But if you're an employee of the university, man, whatever you do, you can't do that. And if people want to say, well, that's his son. Well, once you become his coach, he's not your son. You can't do that stuff. At
home, he's your son. But when you put on the polo and he puts on the helmet, he's just another dude.
And
he's just another player.
I really sit here and I wonder. I talk to.
I don't think that's a problem like you think it is. Though.
Well, this is what I think the problem is. I think the problem is that Bobby doesn't know how to not coach Jake. He has been his quarterback coach since the kid could walk. He has put 2 quarterback sons into Division I football. This is the first time it's ever not worked. And it just so happens to be the first time that he's been on staff with them. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think it's intentional, but I think a portion of Jake's hesitancy in the pocket, and let's be honest, he is incredibly unconfident right now. Is that he's getting different advice from different people, one of whom is his father, who's not supposed to be coaching him. But you think they don't go home and talk about this stuff, man? I know Jake doesn't live at home, but Bobby lives in Columbia. They're going out to eat. Plenty. Come on. I mean, I just think some of it is, look, I know they told you this, man, but and I've got no insider information, but it's just common sense to me.
But see, I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's going on. If there's an issue with Jake and Bobby Bentley, with him being on staff, I think it's probably more in Jake's head.
Whatever it is, it's in Jake's head.
Because like you said, he's spent his whole life, and he's always basically been his coach, minus the last few years of high school.
But even then, I'm just telling you, man, your dad's your quarterback.
He's basically he's the biggest influence in his life, especially on the football field as a quarterback. And so all these years of hearing these things that your dad has ingrained in you, now you're hearing different things from a different person.
And that's all I'm really saying, whether it's happening now or not.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that, just the fact that they're there together is a problem.
Staff has to be some of it, because it didn't happen with Chase Dodd. I mean, it didn't happen with his other sons because he wasn't there. He wasn't on those staffs.
Yeah.
Now maybe it's just a coincidence.
I think
it's a sample size of 3.
Yeah, I think it's more of a coincidence because I don't see just him being if Bobby is doing his thing with whatever position. What's he got now? Running backs, tight ends. He's doing his job and he's doing his thing with the tight ends. Jake's over here with the quarterbacks doing his thing with the quarterback coach. Like I don't see there being a lot of overlapping.
How much time do we have left?
We got 9 minutes and we got to do our picks list.
What do you think the chances are that this season continues to go south to the point that you've played Helinski 4 games and you think, man, we need to pull this kid?
No.
We need to start Kieran Joyner for 4 games, or 3 games, because he played in this one.
Well, it doesn't matter. He played last year. He's already a redshirt freshman.
He did not play last year.
He did too. He was like 1 for 2 last year.
Oh, I see what you said. Well, he redshirted last year. It wouldn't matter how much he played.
Right, he can play everything now.
My point being, though, that even makes more sense, because I was going to ask, is there even a chance if the 6-week thing they're saying about Jake, and that's one of those is a bye week, is there a chance Bentley even comes back and starts the last 3 games of the season if you've done nothing? And he's already like, man, I'm done with college football. Let me play.
If it were me, and this is just my opinion, if I'm Jake Bentley, I'm not taking another snap at South Carolina.
Well, and I think that's going to be the case.
I'm not, and it's not anything against them. I'm just, like I said, his draft stock is 0. And I'm sure, like every other major quarterback in Division I football, like he wants to at least take his shot at the next level.
So you think he will graduate and go?
I think he'll graduate and transfer somewhere else. Now, as far as Helinski goes,
well, it wouldn't even be a transfer. I mean,
well,
really.
It'd be a grad transfer.
Well, that's true because he could take a medical red shirt, obviously.
Yeah. But as far as Helinski goes, like I get that they didn't make this switch. This switch was made for him, but I don't think you go back. I don't think once the switch is made, I don't think you go because now you need to decide whether or not this kid can play. Because if you let him play the season,
because we both think there's a kid coming.
There's a kid coming right
behind both of them.
There's a kid coming right behind him. So if Helinski's not the dude, then next year you can go in and full go say, okay, we're going with this guy.
Yeah.
But if you just kind of waffle and Helinski just kind of plays some and you pull him back out and you enter the offseason and you're still not sure and you've got both of them, then I think you can create a problem where there doesn't need to be one.
Yeah, no, I think you're probably right because all the information you hear coming out of the program is that Joyner's pretty cool with how
he's going to play wide receiver. He's not playing quarterback.
I don't know that he's fully aware of that. I think, but when you hear him talk, I mean, he doesn't seem like the kind of kid that's just going to transfer on a bubble. And I mean, the right people are talking to him if he wants to play at the next level.
It's not going to be quarterback.
I mean, he's got a marginal arm at the college level. It's certainly not going to work at the NFL.
Yeah. All right, so our picks list, we'll spend the last few minutes going over the college games here. Last week, BG and I both went 6-4, so not a great week.
Yeah, we've had worse.
We have definitely had worse. We would have made some
Didn't we have a 2-8 week last year?
I think we both had a couple of those. This week, to start us off, we've got, I guess I need to pull the right one up, don't I? Here we go.
This week's pick list.
I don't think we need to pick Georgia Tech and Clemson again.
I am confident about those picks. Maybe we should start doing them the week after. We'd be really good at that.
Yeah,
get one wrong every now and then just to make it interesting.
Oh, no. I'm going all in. I'm going all in.
Please don't say that.
Oh man, I forgot about that. I just kind of slipped out.
That's because they get in your head, man.
They're everywhere. Charleston Southern at South Carolina.
Give me Charleston Southern. There's no way in the world I'm taking
40 points.
No
South
way.
Carolina is 40-point favorites over South Carolina.
Over Charleston Southern. I know they're not going to. They're going to win this game handily. Please, I mean, I said that about LA Tech 2 years ago too. But I'm going to give the points on this one. There's no way I'm taking South Carolina. Give me Charleston Southern plus 40. No way.
I'm giving the points.
Really?
I'm giving the points. I think that's
a big spread.
That's a big spread. But again, Charleston Southern, they're not setting the world on fire on the FCS level.
By really bad.
Right. So I think that they basically let Helinski turn, and this is the feel good game of the year right here. And
the only one.
I think they let the thing hang out. Carolina covers a 40-point spread.
Not going to get rolled.
No. Carolina covers the 40-point spread in that one. Nebraska, 24th ranked Cornhuskers, and I don't know how that's still a thing.
Yeah, I kind of wonder that myself.
At Colorado.
I think it's the name, man.
It must be. At Colorado, the Buffaloes getting 4.5 BG. I am taking Colorado in the 4.5. I saw nothing from Nebraska on Saturday afternoon that leads me to believe that they're going to go on the road and even win this football game because that offense struggled mightily against a bad team.
Colorado, kind of a low-key hard place to go play.
Yeah, I think they hung 50-something on Colorado State to open the year. So give me the Buffaloes and the points. Number 12, the game of the week probably, Texas A&M at Clemson. The Tigers, a huge number, man. A huge number. 17.5-point favorites over Texas A&M.
I don't know what to do with this.
Wow.
I think Clemson wins. I think they win by more than 10 points. I just can't decide how many more points than 10. I'm going to go with my gut here, and I'm going to take Clemson. I think they might beat them by 20. I really do.
See, I'm going to take Texas. I think Clemson wins.
Now, keep in mind, I said Texas A&M was going to beat Clemson in my season prediction. But now
either way, you're going to be right.
Right. Yeah.
Either way, you're going to be right.
Yeah, I hedged my bets. Man.
No, give me A&M at 17.5 against a team that has been kind of is.
One game.
If you're going to pick a sleeper team that's not Alabama to win the SEC West, A&M is as good as anybody.
Yeah.
Gave Clemson all they wanted down at their place last year. 17.5 is too big for a matchup of two top 12 teams. So I'll take the Aggies and the points. Furman against the team of the week, Georgia State.
And inviting Sean Elliott.
Hey, listen, I know you had a rough weekend. At least you're not Tennessee. At least you're not Tennessee. Furman, the Fighting Dr. Tom LeGrand's at Georgia State. Georgia State 8.5-point favorites over Furman.
A lot of people saying this week we should have just kept Sean Elliott. Remember Sean Elliott? I mean,
that's one way to go.
That game against Clemson that year, the first time they won the title with Sean, that was that 5-point win. Remember?
Well, listen, keeping Sean Elliott would have been the equivalent move of Clemson keeping Dabo Swinney at the time.
It would have been exactly the same thing.
Yep. Give me Furman in the 8.5. Georgia State's not a good team, and I think they've got a big letdown coming. Give me the
I think it's very difficult for Georgia State to stay focused this week. I'm not going to pick against Furman against an out-of-state team.
And finally, the Miami Hurricanes at North Carolina, the first home game of the Mac Brown era.
A much more interesting game than anybody suspected it might be.
Coming off of a Miami game against Florida 2 weeks ago where, again, the Hurricanes gave up 10 sacks. And coming off of this giant program-defining win.
Over terrible South Carolina.
Over the mighty South Carolina Gamecocks.
You just want it both ways, don't you? It just depends on what
the Tar Heels are actually getting points in this one. They are getting 6 points. BG, give me the 6 points, but if you really press me, I'll give them back to you. The Tar Heels beat the Miami Hurricanes this week.
I'll take Miami on this one.
See, you didn't that. See, I was going to hit like the cheer button.
I'll take Miami. I'm not sure who.
So you see us having a letdown a little bit.
Well, I think it's an extremely close game. I'll put it that way.
I agree with you. I think it's like I said. I think it might end up being the most.
This is going to be like a 17-14 kind of thing. I think both defenses step up. The offenses probably struggle a little bit. Defenses tend to improve a lot in week 2.
Yeah.
It'll be. I will be watching. I'll put it that way. I'm much more interested in that game than my game.
I think we've got a 8 o'clock kickoff Saturday, so we'll get prime time on Saturday night. That's it for episode 133. Thank you for listening. Again, you can email us. You can play along with our picks list. Episode 134 will be coming up live in a few minutes if you want to stick around. The other half of the list will be on that show. We'll be discussing the NFL season that starts in just a few days, giving you our predictions for those guys. So, again, you can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com.
Football is stupid.
Well, if you're a Gamecock fan, that's certainly a understandable.
I'm ready for college basketball season.
Oh, man. And while you're at it, go check out our buddies at Stadium Sync TV. I've got some interesting takes on some stuff as well. So go check out everything those guys can offer. Again, stick around. Episode 134, we'll be talking divisions, breakdowns, and exactly how low are the Washington Redskins going to go this season. Can you finish 5th in the NFC East? Can I do that?
Pile on, man. Pile on.